One question, an amazing lineup of CEOs, founders, and experts. This is Marketing for the Now.
Super excited.
Can you hear me? You're 50 yet.
Thank you so much.
That made me feel
Thanks for having me on.
I love how both realize if you're back.
So glad to be
You really
Marketing for not you. Marketing for not you.
so good. We gotta hear it again, Gary. I think that's just because they know that Gary was on Gary's part. I think that's just because they know that Gary was on Gary's part. All right, Neve, thank you. Hey, Gary, a lot going on this month. Woo!
a lot going on this month.
We're just going to dive right in. Today, we're talking about social platforms and culture. A lot to go through, and super fired up to bring John Morgenstern up. Our John Morgenstern, he's heads up all things media buying, and he helps keep us in tune with what's now and what's next. And you guys are going to lay it down first before we bring in some of our guests from the outside world. JMO, let's bring him up.
Yo.
Here he is.
Hey, G.
John, good to see you, brother. How are things?
Good. A lot going on.
Indeed. So, JMO, when we talk about PAC, platforms and culture, it's a acronym that we're spending a lot of time here at Vayner. For everybody who's watching, first of all, let's give some shout outs. Sean Toole, I see you on Facebook. Jason Campbell on Facebook, good to see you. Suzette on LinkedIn. Christian from Copenhagen on LinkedIn. Kevin H. From Florida on YouTube. Thank you for everybody who's tuning in. We have a big time show today. I believe for everybody who's watching, entrepreneurs, creators, influencers, Fortune 5000, CEOs, CMOs, Fortune 500, CEOs, CMOs, B2B, B2C. I believe that being an expert in the platforms and in what's happening in culture is the only way to be a contemporary marketer. When you hear being consumer centric, when you think about your career coming from social code, being in marketing for a long time, spending a ton of times with the platforms on the media side, what stands out in this framework? What have you learned here at Vayner in the last 10 years on this that, was something maybe you didn't believe as much? Like, give everyone a little lay of land of your brilliant mind.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, Gary. It feels like in many ways, like right now is the 2011, 2012 vibes, platforms wise, as far as like, it's chaotic. Some things feel early, like hacks, organic is back. And those were like the glory days. Those were really fun times for me. Right, because running ads in Facebook in 2011, there was no newsfeed ads. It was desktop only, 2 ad units, like just figuring it out on the fly. I think consumer-centric, platform-centric, to me, as it pertains to the media buying side, is like being super close to all the features that the platforms are rolling out, like TikTok right now with saves, like favorites, the bookmark icon. That we think is such a good signal. We're like, okay, people are going to come back to this later. You can see it in ads reporting. You can see it like catch on as you run ads. Oh, people are using this more. And it's like an interesting signal when you can't track towards purchase. So like following all the different features and things going on with the platforms, then seeing it roll into like ads land, and like playing around in the ads interfaces.
As you know, educate a lot of people here who don't work in Fortune 500 land. Something as small as a save function in TikTok as a feature from the platform, the P, that's not something a CMO of a Fortune 500 company even gives a shit, doesn't even know is happening, let alone gives a shit about, correct?
Yes, 100%. Most media buyers don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, Fortune 5000 companies don't give a shit. This is kind of the point that we're trying to make in this session, right? That these little nuances of the understanding of the platforms is actually big dividends for building brand and businesses. Yes?
Yes.
And that we see entrepreneurs a lot of time, or very small companies, take advantage of this. And this is why we've seen so much market share gains in the last decade, because this is the Fashion Novas, this is the Allbirds, this is the Warby Parkers, this is the Harrys, this is all these CPG, Mr. Beast's Burgers, Fernando's coming up in a little bit. Like, these are the things that we're seeing literally a human being, the Gary V's, the Mr. Beast, the D'Amelio, like if you are perfect at platform, you can outflank the biggest companies in the world because they're all the way at reach and frequency and they don't give a shit about this little nuance. We're arguing here, these little nuances times 75 across 12 platforms, and then we'll get to the culture part, is the punchline of opportunity, yes?
Yes. Yeah. And like how big agencies typically get the flow of information, like, hey, new literature, new hotness, new best practices from the platforms. The delta has never been farther apart. We're like, I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups of like media buying ninjas and like Facebook ads entrepreneurs. And like the insights and the things they're messing with and like doing and noting, it's like a different universe. And it used to be closer. It used to be like, yeah, like lookalikes are good. And it's just so different now. And it keeps me on my toes because everyone, because of you, and it's like, oh, you're Gary's media buying person. Like they're throwing all of their heat at me. And so I just like staying on my toes. Like it's so democratized that it's all about like,
and talk about the culture, right? As a math kid, the culture, which is really the art. What have you learned about, for example, the green screen that I did for winetext.com, right? Like, what are you learning around the culture part that maybe is defragging that brilliant math brain of yours last decade?
Yeah, I mean, it's when we talk about it, some people, entrepreneurs, like Facebook ad, junkies are like, yeah, duh, I've been doing that. But it really, as intuitive as it is, it hasn't been. Where outside of reach and frequency, where you always make out the point of like, hey, that's potential impressions. Like, just because they watched a second or two, that might mean that's just the average time it takes to scroll through a news feed. The rub was, well, what could supplant those metrics for like, do you have people's attention? And the rise of the TikTok era, it was like, does it get organic distribution? Because if TikTok, if Reels, if Shorts like takes your content and shows out organically, like they don't fuck around in those algorithms with like potential reach. It's like, is this good for our users? So that as a signal of like, you have the attention and reading the replies and comments, like, I just watched this, I'm going to buy it. Like what you've always said, that matters a lot. And then using that as the seed of what goes into your ads, like the ads paid world is just a subset of the organic world. It's the same stuff, but you have to fuse it with business, and it can't just be like, teddy bears and random viral stuff. You have to be thoughtful. That's why we call it strategic organic content. But
to just give a ton of value for the entrepreneurs and executives, give me on the platform side the JMO top 10, and whether it's 10 or 7, give me 10 little nuances of products on the organic or media side that you're obsessed or curious or excited about right now. Snap Spotlight this, or Pinterest that, or Be Real this, or Twitter that. Give me a fucking November 16th, 2022 JMO special.
I'll throw all my heat, and some I actually just got from you, so big ups. The green screen hack is like number 1 because it's so easy, where you can just like screenshot an article, do a green screen over it, or if it's not you, hire a creator, influencer, someone who works at the brand to do it. You can do many a day, all sorts of articles. Gallery will write articles just to be green screened. It's ridiculous easy and works. Like that's where your content on WineText, where you did a green screen, did way better than all the stuff you actually like spent way more time shooting and doing. So that's number 1 across platforms, TikTok and Reels. On Reels, this might be something you haven't heard from me yet. Instagram Reels, but it's probably the same on both. But I can only say for sure the Instagram Reels. The audio you choose like matters more than on TikTok. Like if you use the top like funny sound that's trending on Reels, you can draft off of that trend more than you can on TikTok, like notably more. That's one. That gives to the whole rub about music and like licensing and rights. And I do have a lot of empathy for brands with that. I know you do too. That's always tricky. But those two are really interesting. My third is an ads hack, which is around how to like force serve your YouTube ads just in Shorts, because Google doesn't want you to do that and they make it tricky. So we're using that with a lot of brands right now, because you're talking a big game about Shorts organic. They're of course coming to me and are like, let's do ads, but YouTube video action, it's like, we'll just serve it everywhere. Don't worry about it. So to do the Shorts hack, we had to like tinker. It was again, old school, like 2011, 2012 stuff. That's number 3.
We're out of time, JMO. We got to keep it moving. I love you. Thank you. We'll have you back.
For sure. Later.
We gotta get him back for the other 5.
Agreed.
He's got so much. All right, we're lucky to have Fernando Machado come back. He joined us when he was all about burgers, and now he's all about gaming. Fernando, you can tell he leads some of the marketing for the most exciting titles, including Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Candy Crush, and so much more. We're super fired up to have you back, Fernando.
No, it's my pleasure to be here. It's fun to be with you guys again.
Fernando, how have you been, my friend?
I'm good, man. I was looking for like someone who had a more cluttered shelf than mine at home, and I finally, yeah, I have a similar collection though.
We got to talk about that offline. For everybody's watching, Fernando is, I'm going to make him blush here. Truly, actually, a legend in the marketing industry. One of the most admired, sought after, respected CMOs in the world. Obviously, now running the helm at Activision Blizzard. Fernando, when you see the platforms and culture, what does it really mean to be consumer centric? The Burger King work now here in this entertainment media gaming world, you've really had the fortune, and probably this is why you selected them, to be at the helm of brands that people really care about and that are really consumer centric, truly actually. So when you see this, what does it really mean to be consumer centric? How do you answer that from your purview?
Look, I mean, I try to have my finger in the pulse of what's going on out there. You know what I mean? Like, and can be overwhelming at times. I try to see like where culture is going, and hopefully every now and then we have a chance of influencing culture a little bit too. And it really doesn't matter if it's gaming or a burger or a soap. Like I think if you have a powerful insight, a strong positioning, and you embrace creativity, you'll be able to influence culture in whatever category you are in and whatever country you are in. So to me, like it's about seeing where people's minds are heading to, like and trying to find inflection points and trying to predict things and trying to do things that are going to surprise people.
Where do big? Oh, I'm sorry. Please finish.
No, I think it's less about like doing a ton of research and because research, everyone has the same data. You know what I mean? Like I remember the first time we've met, and you were telling me about how you used to look at where drivers were looking at so that you could put the signs of the wine store.
That's right.
And you figured out that your thing was not about the wine necessarily; it was more about consumer behavior.
Yes.
So to me, it's about observation.
Yes.
And seeing where people are looking at. Like pretty much like what you did back in the day, and I think you continue to do so well.
George Q from our office, who's worked with you in the past, just said, "I miss you, Fair." Fernando, what about big companies? Where do they get this wrong? Like, you've been in enough at this point. I've always felt that the reason you've over-indexed it in this industry is you are a little bit more towards my world of common sense, consumer behavior, culture. What meetings do you walk out of like, damn it, this could have been better, and the reason we're doing this, we're just so big? Or what is the, for a lot of people here who are entrepreneurs or getting a lot of youngsters in here trying to get into marketing, what's the cliche reason big companies are bad at it?
I think that big companies, or any company for that matter, can be bad at it when everything is done through full consensus, and when people are not empowered to take a direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, if your idea of putting signs around like Tenafly in New Jersey, like had to be agreed with your dad and 10 other employees in the company, they would be like, no, let's.
It's why when I see co-CEO, I jump out the window. When you have two CEOs, you have none.
I freak out when I see dotted lines.
That's right.
But I think
Fernando, you'll like this. You know what I have in my company, because we're a global organization now. We're at, we're 2,000 people. It's starting to be there. We have something called the Supreme Court. When there is, in theory, a dotted line, all I say is I don't want you to spend more than 1 hour debating. If you two don't agree and you have your hands in this jar, you must come to me, give me your point of view. I will make a Supreme Court decision. And the speed and lack of politics that we've been able to do with dotted, I love you for saying that. Dotted lines are destroying corporations.
I think the struggle is when everything is driven by consensus, when people are not empowered, when people are risk averse, so they just want to vote, not officially voting, but like they want to hear absolutely everyone. And I don't mind hearing everyone, but someone at the end of the day needs to make a decision. And you're probably not going to please everyone. When you try to please everyone, that's when I think it breaks. That's when you land on the most common denominator, which is usually not the best way to go. It's where generic lives. So I think that's where we all struggle, I would say.
A lot of agencies watch this. I always love interacting with my contemporaries when they watch this stuff. So I haven't asked a lot of questions from that standpoint. What is the biggest mistake agencies are making? You don't have to talk about your direct partners. I don't know who that is, but like in theory, what you're seeing, like as you head into 2023, what do you want more from your agency partners, and what do you want less from when it comes to being consumer centric?
Yeah, like I think, look, I mean, what I always want more from is close collaboration, and for them to put more ideas on the table than I can execute. You know what I mean? Like for them to know my business, know what my strategy is, know what we're trying to achieve, and literally like machine gun me with ideas. I would rather that we focus the time on that part than on doing bureaucratic stuff. You know what I'm saying? And ideas that will scare us. You know what I mean? Like that will push us. I think that but it's a tricky thing. It's what I'm saying is like easier said than done. Like I think that one of the biggest mistakes that agencies can make is to try to please the client. You know, to present to the client what you think the client will like. Because if the client were an amazing creative person, the client would be sitting on the agency side. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I was lucky enough to be part of some amazing creative projects doesn't mean that I'm creative. The ideas were not coming from me. You know, it probably only means that I know how to brief well, that I have some criteria, and I have a great relationship with the creative partners. So that to me is the biggest mistake. You know what I mean?
Which distribution platforms, whether it's connected TV, whether it's social, whether it's something traditional, has you personally most excited about storytelling on?
I'm excited about TikTok, to be honest with you, these days. And I know that you talk a lot about that. And it's just a different way to do storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that we are all trying to figure out for each franchise, for each brand, for each company, what is that way? You know, like I'm excited about working with creators and influencers. You know, like you were talking about Fashion Nova, I think, like earlier, like you know, like I think that there is there is a new way of doing things that I think we're all kind of still learning, a way to like leverage power users of the brand, to leverage creators out there. Like the level of engagement that we are getting with stuff that we do when we partner with creators is infinite times higher.
Of course.
And how to do that without trying to control the content, which is the stupid thing. You hire a creator and then you try to control the content of the content.
I always tell my clients, you get to pick the creator, but let her or him do their thing. It's why we pick them in the first place. Getting them to do an ad destroys them and you.
Yeah, but I think that we are in the journey in the sense of like proving to companies like the ROI on things like that. You know, like everyone is used to a certain way to do things. And it's proved, tried and tested and proven, and easy to calculate payback, ROI, like everything. And I think that when we try to do things in a different way, it's harder, especially like the first time you do it, to prove the case. So it's finding that balance where we can experiment and learn and show that like we can evolve in the media landscape, and that we can like tell stories in a different way than just like long format films or an ad or like or an event. You know what I mean?
I love it. Fernando, always such a pleasure, my friend. Have a great holiday.
No, you too, man. Awesome to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Fernando. Next up, super fired up to welcome Omar Raja. He's the leading voice behind ESPN's SportsCenter Instagram account, and he also makes appearances across platforms, across shows like Hoop Streams, the college football playoff show, and SportsCenter. Thanks for joining us, Omar.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Omar, didn't I also see you in like a Taco Bell? Did I just see
Yeah. You did.
I was hyped.
Yeah,
I
that was
like,
awesome.
man.
That was really cool.
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm quite well. Why don't you spend 1 second actually tell everybody how you came up the game, because I think it's going to get people hyped, and then we'll go into it.
Cool. It really started, people think about Instagram. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I wanted to be a YouTuber. So I was making like NBA 2K videos, Madden videos. And honestly, looking back at it, it never really popped off to the level I wanted to. But what it did was I got so many reps and I learned so much about community building and all that stuff. Was when Instagram came around, I was like, hey, no one's doing video well. None of the media companies were posting highlights or getting the funny moments that were resonating more than like a dunk, right? There was a lot of fan moments of fans reacting in the background to a play, or a coach is reacting. And so I started an account called House of Highlights. I made it my own goal to like build my own little, sports page. And honestly, it was just a passion. It wasn't supposed to be this page that now has, I think, 35 million followers. So I did that. It blew up, and LeBron followed, Cristiano Ronaldo followed. So, and
those two followed, you just lost your fucking mind, right?
You know what? The first one was Snoop Dogg. I remember he was the first celebrity to follow. And I remember calling my dad, who doesn't know anything about culture, right? And I was like, do you know who Snoop Dogg was? He's like, of course I know who Snoop Dogg was. So
that's when you made it.
I was like, I've made it. Once I've got my dad's
that immigrant family life, when your parent can co-sign, it's
yes,
huge.
yeah.
Look, this is really fun to have you on this show, because we know each other a little bit, haven't had the luxury of too much chop up time, but as we both have navigated this last decade, I think this will land with you. I think you, and I'm proud to say, I think and there's others like us, this is the thing we really focus on. It's PAC, it's platform and culture, right? Not only did you understand the white space on Instagram at the right time, you also had to really understand how that platform was working. So like, what were the design types? What was the copy, the hashtags, every hack? Yeah. What are you seeing today? What's the state? No different than JMO, who's in the trenches talking about saves on TikTok. What's the Omar special on platform and culture? What are like things that entrepreneurs in Fortune 100 should be thinking about?
Oh, I mean, just all the different types of content. Like you guys talk about green screen videos. I'm a huge fan of that, but also voiceover videos. So I believe in the storytelling of, I'm going to take you at Steph Curry's workout and show you what it's like. This Saturday, I'm going to USC versus UCLA. So many people are interested in that game because it's a big, two college football teams. And I'm going to take you behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what the players are working on. I'm going to tell you what they were yelling about after the game ends, whether it was good or whether it was bad. So I'm really big on storytelling, and just, I have this mic right here, and I'm going to tell you a bunch of stories that I think are relevant. So I think that's another format of stuff. I also will say, like, consistency. People
real quick, Omar, I apologize. LinkedIn user 1234 says, "Damn, Gary, you getting raided? That siren is wild." No, this is called New York City.
Yes.
How we fucking do it.
Yes.
Just want to make sure if anyone was confused. Keep going, Omar.
No, I think consistency is also just big. Being on every platform. One of the big learnings I had with House of Highlights was we were so big on Instagram, but then we made a TikTok account, and the account was verified, and it had like 100 followers, and all the comments were, "What is House of Highlights, and how did you guys get verified? You shouldn't have it, right?"
You're like, what?
What? I'm like, I thought we had Gen Z on lock. So it was such a humbling moment, and that's when we went hard on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, and even now for my personal accounts, I'm trying to be big on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff.
What how do you feel about? I don't know how in the trenches you are on these days, but I have a feeling you are. Do you get excited when something you post or your team posts that you think is going to crush fails? Like, it's weird. I'm at this.
I love that.
Yeah, I had a.
I'll tell you why I love that. One of my favorite things to do on TikTok right now is I remix my video. So if a video does bad that I believe in, one of the videos I actually had was my story. It was like how I started House of Highlights and how I ended up at ESPN. And when I first made the video, it was 55 seconds. It was just way too long. And it took me 4 tries to make that video. I made that video 4 times, and I think it got 1,000 views, 100 views every single time I posted it. The 5th time I posted that video, it has 9 million views.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yes.
Let's break it down. This is important for everyone to hear.
Yes, I made a video. Why do UFC fighters put on Vaseline? And you know, before every fight, people, you see that. First time I did it, 5,000 views. I changed it. I'm really harsh on my video. If I believe on it, I'll take out parts. I'll redo the hook. 19 million views on TikTok. I'm not making any of this up.
No, I know you're not. You saw the headline, I'm sure, because you're in the trenches like I am. Mr. Beast talks about spending 6 figures on a thumbnail.
Yes. Yeah. It's just the little things. It
matters. It matters. Like, I for one, am like in love with the humility that comes with it not hitting.
Yes.
What I like about you, and I think we don't do this enough, Andrew, for sure on our side. I don't work it enough because I'm always on to the next, but there are absolutely things that I need to do more working it. And there's a lot of people that run that model. And for a lot of people watching right now, going that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th edit and giving it a shot, especially with the way the world works now, where the algorithms are just kind of like taking it and like letting you win based on the creative, variable, not just how many followers you have, is a game changer. No?
I agree. And I think another thing also is like, it can be the littlest edit for like on Instagram. What we realize is if a video did bad and it didn't have text on screen, hey, you just need to add that text on screen and maybe add wait for it, or watch the kid in the back, or watch this fan's reaction. And that video might be going from having 5,000 likes in 20 minutes to 100,000. It really was the most mind-blowing.
When you work it, do you delete the original from the grid?
I do. If I know I'm going to post it back, if I know if I'm going to do edit 2 or edit 3, I usually do delete it.
How
on
quickly?
Instagram. Huh?
How quickly?
I know it depends on the platform. I know on TikTok within 20. I know on Instagram within 20 minutes. I know on TikTok a couple days.
Like, I'm in love with this Vaseline thing.
Yeah.
Will you take it down as quickly as 30, 40 minutes, or will you give it like 3-4 hours, or how do you?
No, that one was like I gave it a day because I was like, maybe it's popular.
What's the fastest you'll take down when you know you want it?
1 hour. 1 hour on TikTok, 10 minutes on Instagram.
10 minutes on Instagram. You know that you want to do something about Cam Reddish is hot a little bit for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Super hot. He's into coffee. You're like, I have this take on Cam Reddish and coffee.
Yes.
Post it on the gram, and in 10 minutes, because of the math, you know that it didn't hit, but you know you're going to give it another at bat. You will take it down.
Yes, we have it figured out. Algorithms obviously change, but for the most part, they don't change like every other day.
Yeah,
so we know that like within 2 minutes, this video should have 500 likes. If within 5 minutes, it should have 1,000. Like, we already know all the built-in stuff. We want a post in 20 minutes to have 50,000 likes, whatever it is.
A lot of people feel the takedown is not good. Like, I haven't seen that, and it seems like you haven't seen that either. Like, taking it down and coming back a couple hours later with something different while you work on re-editing that, you have not seen a negative effect.
I've never seen it. I've done it since 2014.
For a lot of people, they don't realize the takedown. How quickly on a takedown will you post something right behind it? Like, for example, on the gram, how often do you post?
We post 10 to 12 times a day.
Right. So every 2 hours, but sleep time, you're probably not 24/7. So
right, but the one tricky thing is, imagine an NBA game or a busy Saturday night, UFC, NFL, college football, all these things are happening. You can be posting on top of each other. And sometimes it feels like,
sorry, real quick. Joao, see, this is live. Go ahead, O.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like, you don't want to be posting everything on top of it. I'm a big believer in, if your content is good enough, it will eventually stand out. So it doesn't matter if you give it 2 minutes of breathing room or 2 hours.
Are you saying, boom, I posted something, it's kind of hitting a little something, but it's a Saturday night with a lot of sports. I'm not scared to post another thing, because if that first thing is really that good, it will continue to do well.
Yes.
This is something I believe as well that really scares the shit out of people. They want to let it breathe when they don't realize you could have 2 planes flying at the same time.
Absolutely, Gary. You're 100% correct.
Well, listen, we got to run, but I think people got a fuckload of value in the last 4 minutes, and I really appreciate it now.
Thank you so much, Gary. Talk to you soon, bro.
Thanks, Omar. Thanks, Gary, for joining us.
A lot of great stuff. Everybody, please hang on to the show. I got to go to meetings, but there's some fire stuff coming up, stuff that will actually bring value the same way you just saw. Bye, Andrew.
Thanks, Gary. Love you. All right. Next, let's bring up Zach Nadler. He is the CEO of VaynerX, which is our speakers bureau. And Zach, I don't think I've had a chance to tell you, but I can't believe that we're going to bring Will Gadara on. He was the leader of my favorite restaurant. Will, I can't believe we're going to get a chance to talk about this. And he's a best-selling author, so he's going to tell us all about the story of how he took 11 Madison Park from a 2-star struggling brasserie to the world's best 50 most popular restaurants in the world, or best restaurants in the world. So super fired up to hear a little bit more about your national bestseller, Unreasonable Hospitality. Thanks for joining us, Will.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea. As she mentioned, Will ran 11 Madison Park, the #1 restaurant in the world, and recently wrote a book about how he took this simple idea and took his restaurant to #1 in the world with this simple idea of unreasonable hospitality. So Will, welcome to Marketing for the Now.
Thanks, bud. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So today's episode is all about the consumer. So let's dive right in. How do you define unreasonable hospitality?
You know, when you look around and you look at the most successful people across industries, across disciplines, each one of them I've found is unreasonable in pursuit of the product they create. Unreasonable hospitality for me is just making the choice to be just as unreasonable, just as relentless, but in pursuit of how you serve that product, how you make the person you're serving it to feel.
Yeah, that's wild. So give us an example. How did you apply unreasonable hospitality to your time at 11 Madison Park?
I mean, I stumbled on to the idea one day. It was a busier than normal lunch service, and I was in the dining room helping out the servers, and I was clearing appetizers from a table of 4 foodies who were on vacation to New York, and they were headed to the airport to go back home after their lunch. And they were just talking about all the amazing meals they had. They were talking about Per Se and Danielle and Momofuku and now I love Madison Park. But then one person jumped in and said, yeah, but we never had a hot dog from one of those street carts. And it was like one of those light bulb moments. And I went back into the kitchen, dropped off the plates, ran outside of the hot dog cart, bought a hot dog, ran back into the kitchen. Now came the hard part, which was convincing the chef to serve it. But eventually he agreed, and we cut the hot dog up into 4 perfect pieces, added a little swoosh of mustard and ketchup and little canals of sauerkraut and relish. And before their final savory course, which was a honey lavender glazed Muscovy duck that had been dry aged for 2 weeks, I brought over their dirty water dog. And I introduced it. I said, to make sure you don't go home with any culinary regrets, a New York City hot dog. And Zach, they freaked out. You know, I had served foie gras and lobster and caviar, you know, over the course of my career. I'd never seen anyone react the way that they did to that hot dog. And it really changed the way I looked at the restaurant business from that point forward. At that point, we were already one of the top 50 restaurants in the world, but we'd gotten there by being so focused on excellence, right? On all the little details that I hadn't yet realized something really important. That our reason for being in restaurants, and honestly any customer service business, is to make people feel seen, to give them a sense of belonging, to make them feel welcome. And so I started breaking down, like, what are the things that led to that gesture, and what could I do to start making sure it was happening all the time? First thing, it just required being present, which is so overused these days. But for me, being present is just caring so much about the person you're with that you stop caring about all the other things you need to do. And it's something that a lot of people struggle with. Anyone out there that thinks they're good at multitasking, I think you're wrong. I don't think it's possible to be good at it. It just means you're doing 2 things moderately well instead of one thing really well. If I hadn't been present, I never would have heard the line about the hot dog. 2, it required the belief that we should take what we do seriously without taking ourselves too seriously. I think in customer service, so many people spend so much time building these perfect brands and then let these self-imposed standards get in the way of them giving their guests the things that will actually make them happy. A hot dog in a 4-star restaurant is sacrilegious until you look at the way that it made them feel. And then 3rd, it just required the acknowledgement that if what you're trying to do is give people a sense of belonging, one size fits one. And so, man, the hot dog was like the true north. And in those 3 things, we had a roadmap. And I started talking about it constantly with the team. And we got started right away each night, coming up with cool little one-off gestures for the guests. But what I learned is that if you really believe in an idea, you need to also give your team the resources to execute it consistently. And so we added a position to our team, someone whose only responsibility was to help everyone on the team bring their ideas to life. We called it the Dreamweaver. because I'm a little bit obsessed with the song by Gary Wright. And with that, I've given my team permission to do cool shit for our team or for our guests, and then the resources to help them do it. A guest warned us in advance that his dad was more of a Budweiser steak and potatoes guy than champagne and caviar. So the Dreamweavers turned our fancy champagne cart into a Budweiser cart with every available type of bottled Bud from all the bodegas in the neighborhood. A couple came in to console themselves after their beach vacation flight was canceled. So the Dreamweavers turned our private dining room into their very own private beach. We put a bunch of sand on the ground, a kiddie pool filled with water that they get their feet into. And this is what was so cool about it. When we talk about how do you be consumer centric, I mean, I believe that this is the absolute key to that. And it was a win-win-win. A, we are more profitable than ever before. Yeah, this requires investment, but the ROI on that investment was incredible. I mean, you couldn't get into the restaurant after enough of these stories started spreading into the world. But also our team was just happier than ever before. First, because they had creative agency. They weren't just serving plates of food that someone else had created. They were coming up with their own ideas, and those ideas were impacting the experience. We turned salespeople into product designers. And there's no one on earth that won't give more of themselves to make something successful than when they have a hand in creating it. But we were also just all happier because we were making other people really happy. You know, one of the things that people are struggling with right now is staffing issues, and it's based on burnout and depletion. And I mean, listen, I don't think there's anything more energizing than seeing the look of complete joy on someone's face than when they receive a gift you're responsible for giving them. And so work is depleting sometimes, but if you can make the work energizing as well, that's an amazing key to success.
Wow. And I also will say, having eaten at 11 Madison Park, if you served me a hot dog, it probably would have been a different outcome. But the meal was incredible nonetheless.
Well, no, the gestures they're only good if they only make sense to the person receiving them.
Absolutely. Well, and so explain this, because obviously this isn't a restaurant, session. This has leaders from all sorts of different industries. So how can someone else in whatever industry they're in, outside of hospitality, actually apply these same ideas to their business?
Yeah, this is not just for fancy restaurants. And it honestly doesn't even require a huge budget. Remember, the hot dog costs $2. I mean, listen, like for most of America's history, we were a manufacturing economy. Now we're a service economy. That means that most of the people watching this do the same thing for a living that I do. We're all in the business of serving other people. And if you start to look closely enough and you do some simple pattern recognition, these kind of opportunities will emerge. Like take real estate agents. Every single time I've bought a new apartment in the city, at best, the agents left me a bottle of sparkling wine in the fridge as my thank you / congratulations gift. Now, this is someone with whom I've spent weeks, if not months, looking together for my new home. If they've been paying attention, they should know every intimate detail about my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine if instead, the first time my wife and I walked into the place we ended up falling in love with, they overheard her talking about the nook she could imagine herself doing yoga in. And imagine if when we moved in, instead of that obligatory bottle of bubbles, there was a brand new yoga mat, along with a candle and a note that said, "Welcome to your new home." A, that would be pretty cool. But B, compared to the average commission, it's an insignificant investment in what will inevitably become a lifelong relationship. I think every business, if you look closely enough, you find these opportunities. And I think you need to, because listen, making good products, I don't think it's enough anymore. Serving them efficiently is not enough anymore. I really do believe it's now how we make people feel, those that we work with and those that we serve, that matters the most of all. I believe that we're on the precipice of becoming a hospitality economy.
Wow. Well, I think you're onto something, because obviously there's almost an expectation now, right? What you are getting, right, this is the baseline expectation. I should be getting this. I deserve this.
Yeah.
So it's how do you separate from the competition using tools like this to really make yourself and your business separate yourselves from the competition. So I appreciate this, Will. Thank you so much for joining us. For everyone out there, if you enjoyed this, I will have to give a shameless plug. Will's book is available now on Reasonable Hospitality, so don't be shy about going to Amazon or your local bookstore and picking up a copy. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, bud.
It's going to make it in my holiday list, that's for sure. Thanks so much, Zach. That was really great. We're getting lots of good comments in the chat here about how if you truly care for others, your business is going to grow. And so I think, it's like these things are really important to remind ourselves. Something super simple, but we easily forget some of the things that just are about caring.
That's what we do here, right? Take things from being a transaction to a relationship.
That's right. Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, Zach.
Thanks, Andrea.
All right. We're going to welcome up Mima Johnson. Mima, are you here?
Go, Andrea.
Creative director, first time on Marketing for the Now. It's about time.
I know.
It is so exciting.
No pressure, Andrea. Woo.
That's right. That's right. And very fired up to have Tressie Lieberman join us. She is one of the superpowers at Chipotle. We've been watching her work very, very closely. We're excited to talk to her because she's a big maven. She's super connected to culture, and she's responsible for a lot of things at Chipotle that are all about community engagement. So we're really looking forward to hearing more about some of the tricks of the trade. Thanks for joining us, Tressie.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Tressie. Like you heard Andrea say, we bow down to Chipotle. We obviously think you all are doing a fantastic job. I think one of the best ways to start this conversation is just a quick shout out to the amazing work you're doing. Chipotle is the most followed food brand on TikTok, which is insane. So a little hair toss for Chipotle. A big reason for that is that you guys have always been ahead of the game in understanding platforms and exploding culture, right? Which is the big topic that we're talking about today. So I think it would help if maybe you can start by just sharing, tell us a little bit about why this almost obsession that you guys have with cracking culture has been such a big part of exploding the Chipotle brand over the past few years.
Great. Yeah. Well, first off, thank you. And thanks to the team at Chipotle, because they're the amazing people that are making this happen. I think it just starts with our fans. So our entire strategy is to supercharge the super fans. And Chipotle is really fortunate that we are loved. And, when people talk about Chipotle, they are passionate about it. I'm to ask people their order. I know a Chipotle fan because they don't say, I like a chicken bowl. They tell you every single ingredient that they like on that chicken bowl. And we have really leaned into that and been laser focused on those unique Chipotle insights that we can tap into. I think when you look at a unique Chipotle insight and you tie that into, what is a brand about, but what do the consumers care about? And then you connect culture into it. That's where you just see the magic happen. That's where you see things take off. We did a water cup candle a few months ago, and that was just a simple insight that people like to, have that wink about getting lemonade out or getting lemonade when they're thinking they're getting water. So they sneak out lemonade. So we're like, you know what, we could ignore that or we could have fun with it. So we made a water cup candle that happens to smell like lemonade, and it blew up. And I think that's a really good example of, what's the brand about? What is that wink with our customers? And how do we tap that into culture? Something people can touch and feel and experience around the brand.
And that takes courage, right? That's one of those things where a lot of brands would be afraid of that, of saying like, oh, we don't want people to think that that's something that we're okay with. And you guys are like, no, because real people are telling us this, let's lean into it. And you only know that by listening on those platforms.
Yeah. I mean, it's that moment where someone says, Chipotle gets me. Oh, I see that, they see me. We're always asking, why would I care and why would I share? We ask that for every single idea. It's something I learned from a Facebook partner, really long time ago, I think when Facebook first, expanded beyond college students. And I've been using that ever since to think about like, why would somebody want to talk about this? And the simplest ideas can really create a huge spark.
No, that's a great point. Why would I care and why would I share? I'm going to burn that one in my brain. Maybe a little like forehead tattoo of that one. I think another part of that you just mentioned that's really important to this is understanding platforms and how to act on them, right? Like you're not acting like a brand, you're acting like a real person, and which is why I think people feel so close to the Chipotle brand. So I think the other part of this, right, we talked about culture. Let's talk about platforms for just a second, because I think Chipotle, again, has always been ahead of the game when it comes to being a first mover on TikTok. And now you guys are like killing it on BeReal. So would love for you to just tell us a little bit about how you guys stay at the forefront of what's happening with the platforms.
Sure. Well, the mindset across our organization, really not just the social team, is culture hunting. And the team is obsessed with understanding, where are our consumers, where are they talking about Chipotle, and where might we provide value if we show up there. And we're big fans of not debating it endlessly, but actually just jumping in and experimenting. And I think the best way that you can learn is to do. You can sit in the sidelines and observe, but we, as an early leader on TikTok in 2019, we have several years behind us to know what works, what doesn't work, and to be ready when things change and evolve and just keep experimenting. So that is ingrained in the way that we operate as a business. And we really try to build that muscle where we can move fast, we can break things and have fun doing it, not take ourselves too seriously. We always say that we take our food seriously, but not ourselves. And I think that's really important when it comes to the work and making it more human and more relatable, to your point.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important, especially when it comes to those newer platforms. Again, TikTok back in 2019 when you guys were first doing it, and now Be Real as it is a newer platform. Like, you have to take those risks or you're never going to see those big rewards like you guys are seeing. And to your point, because you've had so many at-bats, you have more opportunities to find success, which I think, again, a lot of brands could be scared of that, but you all have really, really embraced it.
Absolutely. I think you have to in social media. Like you just need to jump in.
Absolutely. And I think one of the great examples from the past few weeks where you guys have like totally exploded that cross section of platforms and culture is with Corn Kid about a month ago. If you are on this Marketing for the Now broadcast and you have not seen Corn Kid, please just Google it right now. It will make your day. The song will get stuck in your head. But I think Chipotle, again, this is a great example of how, because you all have such a deep understanding of what's happening in culture, you're able to identify this signal really early on before any other brand was able to jump onto it, and then do an activation on TikTok within a few hours. So I'd love for you to take this crew through how that exactly happened, how it started, how your team reacted, how quickly you got that out into the marketplace, and then what were some of the results that you saw from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an example of Chipotle, operating at our best, pulling our strategy together and moving really quickly. In that example, the team saw that there was the Corn Kid, Tarek, he's adorable, saw this trend taking off on TikTok with his video. And for us, we're like, okay, does this make sense for our brand? Could this be uniquely Chipotle? Like, we don't want to just jump on trends for the sake of being in a trend. We need to feel relatable. And of course, we are very focused on our real ingredients. It's core to who Chipotle is. And we have corn as an ingredient. So the team,
easy, right?
Yeah, the team's like, okay, what's the right execution? And I think that's the magic of it, right? The content was really good because we showed him going through the line and passing on every ingredient aside from corn. And then you get the big reveal at the end where he says it's corn.
It's corn.
Well, I mean, it's just such a cool example because Neve Toledano, who led that project, like, she saw it happening, found his agent, found the person who could connect us to him.
Yeah.
We have a team on the ground in New York who's able to get him into a restaurant, shoot the content, publish the content. It all happened within 24 hours. So, that's something you can't just do overnight. That took a lot of experimentation, building the capability to move real time, to have the partnership with legal, to, have the team on the ground in different places where we can capture content, to have a creative idea and be able to get the approval internally to be able to make things happen. And I think it's a great example, right? Because it's had well over 100 million views, and just the comments are insane. Just so much passion for the brand. And I mean, that's the best advertising you can possibly do. There's no money behind it. It's just a great idea that popped off. That magic doesn't happen every time, but it just continues to show the power of what can happen when you execute really well on an idea that is relevant for your brand.
Absolutely. And again, execute really well, understanding platforms, tying it to what's happening in culture. It was such a simple idea, but it had so much power. And I think that's a true testament to what you guys are building, both as a brand with what you're doing, but also the people and the systems that you've put in place across your organization and with your advertising and agency partners to be able to make that happen within just a matter of a few hours.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. There's nothing better than getting to create content like that and just see that immediate response from our fans.
Amazing. Who can't love its corn? Like, that's,
I know. What a doll.
No, thank you so much, Tressie, for joining us today. Seriously, we are in awe of what you guys are doing at Chipotle, and we're going to keep watching for all the amazing stuff to come. Andrea, we'll toss it back over to you. Oh,
Everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tressie, and thank you, Mima. That was delicious. I'm getting hungry. Delicious in every way. Thanks, Mima. We'll see you soon. All right, next up, we are going to welcome our Jason Loomis, who heads up all things media at VaynerX's Sasha Group. Yeah, how's it going, Jason?
It's going great. It's a pleasure to be here, and excited to talk about what we're going to talk about, but also a little nervous after following all of what
I
you
know,
just said.
right?
So
What a
it's gonna-
lineup! But we're gonna bring it home today. We've got the CEO of Hello Product. What a way to conclude the show! I'm really excited about this one. Rekha Rao has been at Colgate for over 20 years. Is that right, Rekha?
Yes.
And then you just joined as the CEO of Hello Product at the beginning in January of 2020. And I just love your brand. Love the fact that you guys have your own culture and then how you interact with the world. We're really, really fired up to have this conversation today. So thanks to you both for joining us.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rekha. I'm really pumped about this. Just to kind of build on what was just said there, it was really exciting. I think that was a perfect tee up when we're talking about platforms and culture and being consumer centric. One of the first things that's really struck me about Hello ever since we started working together, and even before that, everything from like the packaging, the product design, the brand name itself, Hello, like it's so clearly and obviously consumer centric and was designed and built with the consumer first. I'm curious your opinion. How do you think Hello's early consumer centric focus allowed it to scale as quickly as it did? To what degree, excuse me, my throat's cracking a little bit. Did that play into the brand's success?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that human centricity is the core of the brand, and honestly was the magic that is behind the brand. So when Craig and the founding team developed it, I think it was that human centric touch that they captured. And in fact, totally agree, whether it's the brand name itself of Hello, whether it is the tone with which the brand speaks and shows up differently, it really fundamentally added a direct human touch to the oral care category, whether it's about how it speaks to the benefits of the category, the counter-worthy design and packaging, and ultimately these beautiful, delightful, thoughtful touches that the brand really, wants to make the world a friendlier, happier place, and does it in super beautiful ways. To me, one of the best examples of this is we have our unicorn sparkle toothpaste. Not sure how many of you know, but what you can do is actually open up our carton here, and literally there's an area to color for kids. But again, you wouldn't know it. It's a surprise point. It's a delight point. And it's all about that human-centric touch that is so core to the brand. And certainly we don't even speak about our consumers as consumers. They are our brushers and our swishers, and we love them dearly.
Well, I will say, when I got the welcome pack, when we first started working together, you all sent me a variety of the different toothpaste and everything, and gave some to my nephews, and they immediately turned their family into a Hello brusher family. They started demanding that their parents buy them Hello and Hello only. So it definitely works on that front.
Awesome.
So next, I love that, and it makes so much sense. And I think obviously that approach and everything you did got the attention of Colgate, where you've been for a long time. And one of the things that was interesting to me is, I think sometimes when smaller brands get bought up by these larger holding companies, they can lose some of that identity, and I think sometimes, the larger structure starts to infuse like, hey, this is how we do things. This is what you need to do. And everything gets focused on the P&L and focused on the sales numbers, and you lose that core. But I really think, Hello and Colgate both have done an incredible job of maintaining that. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that, of like, how have you been able to maintain your core identity as Hello kind of moves into the Colgate world?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I think Colgate itself is a very human-centric people-centric brand that obviously has been around for 200 plus years to really understand that consumer. So I think first that is built on the foundation of what Colgate believes in too. That being said, I think there's just a powerful partnership that exists and really a belief that Hello, the brand, is about building that magic, building that, touch with the consumer and our brushers and swishers. And it's about amplifying it now. So it's really about scaling it and building it and amplifying it. But at the core of it, making sure we retain that, really delightful brand experience, which is ultimately what we're delivering. So I think that's super important, and it's happening.
Yeah. And how are you able to, I've seen you guys do this a little bit too, of how are you able to take advantage of some of the resources and some of the size and scale of Colgate, but not get bogged down by some of the process that comes along with all the decision makers and just the size of the company overall? How have you been able to manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we try to do is really tap in to those resources, into the tools, into the subject matter expertise that exists that really helps amplify the brand. So, we probably have started adding a touch of structure to this people centricity, whether it's leveraging a host of great agile consumer centric research tools and things of that sort, really building on our consumer experience teams to really kind of connect with the consumer and our brushers and swishers in some nice, great new ways. So really leveraging those teams to maintain and amplify that human touch is really where we're trying to find those places to connect.
I love that. I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your evolution with TikTok as well, because, speaking of being agile, I know in 2020, around that time, you were much more TV centric in terms of your media investment. And that has changed dramatically from a media perspective, but also just from an organic effort perspective and how much content you create. And you guys have really developed, best in class TikTok presence and TikTok content. I'd love to hear your perspective of, how you were able to make that shift happen and what you think that's done for the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to being actually really laser focused on our brushers and swishers, it became abundantly clear that they're on TikTok and they're on it a lot. And of course, social overall. So, we quickly identified that, at a full platform basis, social, digital is going to be where, we need to focus. Second, on TikTok, we really thought it was a great place for the brand to show up, to engage, to entertain, to really just take that brand messaging and amplification in ways that really not many had been doing. So really, really excited. We launched our own organic TikTok in April and quickly scaled to 168,000 followers, 1 million likes in a matter of 7 months. So incredible work by, powerful teams across really Hello and our agency partners that I couldn't be more thankful to. But really that really what it was about was connecting with people and really building that community of positivity. And certainly that's something we take a lot of pride in, which is, really understanding the positive sentiment of the brand across all our social platforms. And we're really, we take those relationships very seriously, and we don't take them for granted. So cultivating that trust, cultivating that community, making sure we listen and engage is really the priority across all our platforms.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love, it struck me a little bit. Gary talks about this a lot, of this concept of it's never too late, and I think sometimes people are like, oh, I missed the boat on this, or it's too late for me to really invest from just organic. Maybe I'll just get on with paid. And I think that you all did a great job of it's not too late. Now's the time, and you invest and you see the results, right? It's paying dividends. So that's really tremendous. I know we're running up on time here. I've got one more question for you. And that is really, a lot of times, especially in CPG world, you talk about these ankle biter brands, and, you all are beyond that point now. Hello is much, much further along than that. But with that kind of upward momentum, the fast growth you've experienced and everything you're doing from a consumer centric standpoint, what do you think you've brought to Colgate? Like, what do you think Hello is teaching Colgate and the rest of the brands within the portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, collaboration and partnership has been great. So first, I think it's probably about the agility with which Hello can move and how we're trying to push. So I think that learning has been great. And then there's other things. We do things a little differently at Hello related to process. Maybe things like even how we conduct our interviews are a little different. While of course we bring folks in to understand their capabilities and skills, but we actually do some things differently to understand who they are as people and how they'll really connect with us as a company. And I think that approach sometimes now we're starting to see trickle in a lot of different ways within Colgate as well. So it's really about, taking, some nice learnings on what Hello does differently and how that may actually help the rest of the organization.
That's awesome. Rega, thank you so much. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. As
Love
did
that,
I.
you guys. It was so good. I love the brushers and the swishers.
That's right.
Taking it in, and love that last questions. It's super interesting just to see how one of the smaller brands can be so mighty within a broader organization. All the learnings, I think, tons of relevance there. So thanks to you both for the conversation.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Jason. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We're going to have another episode coming up in December on December 13th. It's going to be from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we hope that you'll come back right here for that. We're going to be doing an episode that's all about a year in review with VaynerMedia. So it feels like a good time to reflect. Please join us. You can sign up by going to MFTN. That's for Marketing for the Now. So mftn.vaynerx.com. And we hope you will do well between now and then. We'll see you soon. Thanks for coming.